is hosted live at American Family Insurance DreamBank in Madison, Wisconsin. But I would also like to give a special welcome to all the business owners from our Business Accelerator program that are watching from all over the country. So we give you a warm welcome. During today's event, best-selling author and innovation trainer Darin Eich will be sharing with us the powerful techniques for developing innovative products and services. So give a warm welcome to Darin Eich.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Chris. All right, hello, welcome everybody. So today in a fast and furious first 45-minute long portion, the folks watching from home through the Accelerator program, make sure you've got some paper handy, maybe a journal, like that, because this will be a little bit normal webinar presentation perhaps. It will be a guided innovation experience for you, where I'm going to guide you activities to do step by step to help you create some new products or services for a challenge that you are working on right now, right? So maybe get a challenge in your mind, and I'll guide you through that in just a bit. But first of all, you're really lucky to be here today. I was reading the New York Times, maybe about a month ago. Somebody shared this on Facebook, and the article was called Why You Hate Work. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And they did a big study of like 12,000. They found out that the #1 reason why people lacked a fulfilling workplace was because they didn't have regular time for creative or strategic thinking. So only 18% of people had that in their life. So for you to be able to have the time to do this right now, that's the essence of, I think, what makes a fulfilling workplace. And you get to do that right now, maybe because you're a business owner yourself or you're working for an organization that really values that. So let's just get down to business right away, right? Let's do some creative and strategic thinking right away. So we're going to guide you through a process to go from taking a challenge to really focusing that into key questions that are opportunities for you, to generating a lot of ideas, analyzing and synthesizing those ideas, to turning those ideas into concepts that are much better, much stronger, to testing and selecting which concepts could be most validated and most successful for you. And then finally, we'll hopefully end up this happy guy with the rocket ship and have something that we can launch. So maybe this can happen sooner rather than later. But it all begins right here with having a challenge. So I'd like to do first is to guide you through a really quick visualization, right? I think that's a powerful tool, our imagination in this innovation work. So think about this. It is a year from now. You attended this innovation workshop at DreamBank in Madison or tuned in online, and you really took to heart some of the innovation tools and techniques and decided to take your innovation skill to an even higher level, right? So it's a year from now. And wow, you launched some new products or services, maybe a new program, right? It's helped people. You know, there's a specific person that you might see in your visualization that you've helped, or a group of people that you've helped. And there's a way that you have helped them. So right now, kind of close your eyes, literally close your eyes and picture it's a year from now. You've had an amazing year. You've innovated. You've launched new products and services. And in your mind, you might be hitting play on a YouTube video that shows a highlight of this year. It shows the people that you've helped and how you've helped them. So what is coming to your mind? As something comes to your mind, maybe jot that down on a blank sheet of paper. Was there a specific person you saw or a group of people? Was there a problem that your products or services or programs or what you did solved, or an opportunity you seized, or a need that you provided for somebody? In what way did people change or become better, right? So jot that down as it's coming to you. So this could be our vision for the future, right? This can help us create a challenge that is relevant to work on. So that's our first step of the innovation process. So all the things that we're going to do in this rapid 45-minute program are based on this book called Innovation Step by Step. So essentially, I guide you through how to create and develop ideas for your challenge. And that's what we're going to do today. So you're going to be able to pick a challenge you want to work on. Maybe your vision gave you a challenge. Maybe you have a few different challenges in your life, right? Develop products and services for this group, or develop products and services to help people with this. Or maybe you've already got a product or a service and you feel like you don't need to develop any new ones. You just need to focus on launching that, communicating that, marketing that, getting that out there. If you want to, you can even work on that challenge here today too. It all fits, right? So this book, some people have it, there's a workbook in the back where you can even jot down your insights as you go along. And what we're going to do today is almost like a child, when they're playing on the floor, doing something with blocks. They might stack something up. It doesn't take them long to do that. But we're going to do that today too, almost childlike, just kind of stack some things together and maybe build some things here today. And our expectations should be no more than that of that child, right? We're just going to kind of mess around and build some things. And the nice thing about innovation and creating new products and services are there are blocks that we can stack together to make a better product idea or service idea. So we're going to do that. And there's a lot of different things that you can innovate, almost anything you can innovate. Look at the place we're in right now, DreamBank, right? I don't think this thing was around a year or two ago. What an interesting place. Or what are we doing right now? I think it's a webinar or a Google Hangout. Were those around 10 years ago? Was this program around 2 years ago? I doubt it, right? There's always opportunity for new products, new programs. And I look at this. This is the very first webinar I did 8 years ago, right? Take a look at that beauty. Maybe you've done something similar, right? But I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. We do these, PowerPoint would give you the format and you would add the bullet points in. And then I would get in front of a group for an hour and a half and just read it. So it's like there's always opportunity to innovate that. So maybe what you want to innovate is a presentation or a program. So luckily now, the webinars or presentations I do look a little bit more like this. They're more visual. They're more about guiding people through activities than just giving them something that they could have read on their own. So that's what we're doing here today too. And for our folks that are live in Madison, we're going to have a special experience after this where we're going to even innovate the concept of a presentation, and we're going to do a different kind of an event. So it's almost like the next time you do a workshop or a presentation, could you do it wildly different? So we're going to experiment with maybe a more disruptive or breakthrough innovation, something that's more wildly different, right? So where's all this stuff coming from? I know we're going to get to the activities in a second, but you might be saying, okay, where does this stuff come from, right? I think if you have something to teach, make sure to keep the roots on and the dirt. You can see where you're coming from. So where am I coming from with this? I grew up in a small town, Preston, Minnesota. I went to Washington, D.C. To work and study and had a great out there doing the work I was doing. But while I was out there, it was like the year of this D.C. area sniper who was sniping people in my area. Caps got stolen, my car got towed, my bike got stolen. I had this weird eye allergy that happened, and I didn't have insurance to pay for the medications. It was a rough physical experience. So I'm like, I've got to get out of D.C. I'm going to Madison. So I moved to Madison. And my field is like leadership programs. How do you design leadership workshops and programs for people that are high impact? So my very first year here, I was working on a PhD at the University of Wisconsin, and I had the opportunity to facilitate a leadership retreat. And it was not unlike what we're doing here today, bringing a bunch of people together to think about the future. And at this retreat, we challenged the students, in this case, to come up with a vision for something big that they would like to do in the world, they can make a positive change with. And there was a student, this guy here in the red shirt, named Anand. He was from Mumbai, India. He was an engineering student. And what he noticed was when he was doing his internship at a big company, Pitney Bowes, that when they would do brainstorming, it was a lot of the younger people, the people new to the company, that would come up with a lot of the ideas. But they needed the people that had been at the organization a long time to know what to do with the ideas, how to fund them, how to make them happen. So he thought about, what if we could connect the idea generators of the world with the idea implementers? So you might think about yourself, what is an opportunity that you have with people? Is there somebody that you can partner with? Can you connect in an idea implementer if you've got a lot of ideas and you need that help. Or maybe you're good at launching something, could you connect in an idea generator to help you? And it could be simple. You might have a friend like Eric or Ted or Brett that you can meet at the coffee shop with to do this, right? So that was Anand's idea, was connect the idea generators of the world with the idea implementers. And he knew I was into the brainstorming and the facilitation aspect and the program design. So he built an organization called Brain Reactions when we were students at UW. And everybody thought we were crazy. We were going to create an organization just to brainstorm ideas for other people. So that's what we did. And sooner rather than later, we started to get actual clients, believe it or not, which was crazy. We went around recruiting the most creative people we could find from the university. We would train them on brainstorming tools and techniques. We would create partnerships with like nonprofits, community service groups, and we'd work on their challenges for free to give people the chance to learn something by doing it. And then we'd assess who was skilled at what, who was good at analyzing ideas, who was good at creating wild ideas, who was good at the basic ideas, right? Who was good at collaborating with others. And then we would do projects for companies. And the crazy thing is we started to get clients. Like we did maybe 15 different projects for inventing products. So I had to like learn, how do you invent products? How do you create product ideas? How do you connect that in? We did a project for the United Nations that we involved almost 100 people in Madison about eradicating extreme global poverty. We got to work on designing BMWs. I grew up in Preston, Minnesota. I hadn't even seen a BMW. So we called that Outside Insight, coming up with ideas for something you have no idea about. And then along the way, I've been really passionate about taking what we've learned and teaching it to people through universities, or we built a program with USA Today called Lead to Feed that so far has taught about 1 million high school students how to come up with ideas to fight hunger and learn leadership through doing that. So I love like taking what did we learn from P&G, BMW, these companies, and being able to bring it to people. So that's what we're here to do today. And along the way, this was a pretty cool thing. We just created this business without any money and just using the people that were skilled in our community. And Anand was still very young at this point. He was under 25. He was named by BusinessWeek magazine as one of the top 5 entrepreneurs under 25, along with Mark Zuckerberg that year. So one person's company is more successful than ours, that's for sure. But it's pretty cool to be able to just say, hey, what do we have in our environment? We've got creative people. People are good at this. Can we just bring them together and create something? That, I think, is an opportunity for you. We're going to guide you through innovation steps, but you don't have to do it all yourself all the time. Who do you know that would be good at helping you? Could you have a 5-minute conversation with them? All right? So our goal now is to not only move forward like everybody else, but we also want to move up, right? We want to enhance our skill, enhance our toolkit, do things even better. We want to do what Peter Drucker says. We want to do not just things right. We want to do the right thing, right? We don't want to waste our time, being perfectly effective on something that we didn't even need to do in the first place, right? How do we spend more time at the front end thinking about what is a product or a service that people actually want or need or will pay for? Because I know you've probably been in a scenario like I have where you had an idea and it was your idea and you built it, you spent a lot of time on it, you launched it, and nobody wanted it or bought it, right? I've been through that a ton of times, and I don't do that as much anymore. So how do we spend more time at our front end so that we can create a better idea that more people will want? So now, our first step, what is the challenge you want to work on? So we led with that visualization, positive future, right? So how would you describe your challenge? A challenge you want to generate products or services for in one statement now. So for me, I'm over my shoulder as I do all this project with you too. And maybe some of my ideas you can use for yourself, because I hear we have a lot of consultants in the room and people working on innovation with organizations. So for me, my challenge that matters is I want to create new innovation training products, services, or programs for organizational leaders and consultants. So without a lot of judgment, what comes to your mind as a challenge? A quick challenge statement. You want to create blank kind of products and services for who, right? So on a sheet of paper, put step 1, and then create a simple challenge statement almost like this. You want to create new small group programs for fitness professionals, right? You want to create financial training on how to get new clients for financial advisors. You want to create new Caribbean fusion recipes for Madison residents. You want to create new social media widgets for online marketers, right? You want to create new idea fest competitions for people in your organization. So what would you say your challenge statement is? So we don't have a lot of time in this program today, so I am going to move fast and try to get through all of these steps. And for our folks in Madison, we'll have plenty of time for questions after that. And for the folks that are tuning in online, just email me over your questions as you go. But maybe by seeing the examples, you can catch up and follow along, right? So the goal here is let's move faster than we can think, right? We don't want to think ourselves out of our challenge. What came to mind? Write it down, okay? So that's step 1. So step 2 now is that challenge statement is pretty general, right? What are ideas for new innovation training products and services for organizational leaders and consultants? It seemed to you like that's pretty specific, right? Because it has a lot of elements in it, but really it is not. So what we can do is something next, is step 2, is we can focus that challenge into areas of opportunity. So this might be creating some questions that I call meaty questions, right? That get at your opportunity areas. So I like to almost draw a ladder, and that challenges me to come up with a new question every step of the ladder that might be more specific, right? My general challenge of new innovation training products and services is on the ground. So what's a more specific question than that, or a focused one? Could I focus it on, okay, what are products or services that can be delivered individually? Or what are products and services for groups? Or what are products and services for organizations? Or what are products and services that other websites can use and embed on their site? Or what are ideas for apps to train people on innovation, right? So, or coaching services, right? So it's what are some more specific questions that you can ask that might get more specific ideas? For me, I just came up with, what blended product and service combo could we create to help our group innovate one-on-one? Or what kinds of products and services could we offer to groups of expertise entrepreneurs on an ongoing basis? So I labeled that specific group of people that I might be able to help, entrepreneurs who want to do something with their expertise, right? So try to come up with maybe 2 specific questions that might relate to your challenge. So as we're moving quickly here, any clarification needed or question? Yes?
How many steps will there be just for papers?
Well, I like a ladder that's endless, that reaches to the heavens. So if you can come up with 20 questions that are focused, that is amazing. But for our purposes today, I think starting with 2 steps is excellent.
I mean, we're in step 2, step 1, step 2. How many more are there?
Oh, there will be 7 steps.
Oh.
Yep. We use that metaphor of steps a lot, all right? So 2 specific questions. So they might keep coming to you. So after you've created a question, this is my favorite part of the program, is naturally what happens is you might want to start creating ideas, right? A question wants ideas. So based on the experience that we've had facilitating hundreds of brainstorming sessions, teaching thousands of people idea generating, I've figured out there are 5 main tips that I think are important for idea generating. Number 1 is capture your ideas. How many times have we been in a scenario where we said, I had the greatest idea, but I was in the shower and I lost it, right? Or, I was driving, I had the great idea, or I was mowing the lawn, or I was shoveling the snow, or I was biking, I had a great idea and I lost it, right? We don't want to lose our ideas, and we don't have to now. We've got these great devices, right? Capture it, you can voice it, you can record it. For this project, you might jot your ideas down in a journal or a list, or you keep everything together in a folder. But you want to keep that stuff by you, and knowing that, hey, some of the best ideas do come when you step back from the challenge, and you do go to bed and wake up or take the shower, be ready for it there, right? So capture your ideas, right? You're doing that right now. You're writing them down. Number 2, go for quantity, right? This is something most people don't do. They just like get an idea and they tell people about it at work and then they launch it, right? No, you've got to come up with a lot of ideas. When we would do our projects for P&G, we would come up with like 600 to 800 product ideas, right? We would go crazy. If I'm going to do this project, the last time I did it, I created the book as the idea that came out, but there was probably 100 different ideas, right? And in this one, I'll come up with maybe 40 different ideas, right? So 1 idea, 2 idea, 3 idea isn't as suitable as maybe 20 to 40 to 60 ideas. So go for a lot, go for quantity, because if we've got a lot of ideas, odds are we might have a home run in there, or we might have some ideas that we can mash up together, or we can start to see some themes. So number 3, questions, right? The more questions, the more ideas. Sometimes we get stuck, we run out of ideas. We'll create a new question that will catalyze those ideas. So that's what you've already been doing. Hopefully you might have 2 questions, but if you ever run low on ideas and you need more, ask more. Number 4 is use tools. The mind works like this. It takes something and it like creates an association or a connection based on this block, right? A good product is like children stacking building blocks together, right? It's got good elements to it. You know, the mind makes ideas by having a catalyst. So I'm going to walk you through some tools to use for your challenge. And number 5 is don't judge your ideas. This is very important. We know this if we're going to be brainstorming as a group, don't judge the other person. But most importantly, do not judge your own idea. This happens so many times. How many times have I seen somebody like brainstorming, they had a smile on their face, I know they had a great idea, but they didn't say it, or even worse, they didn't even write it down, right? So everything that comes into your mind, get it out there. You're almost practicing non-judgment and getting into action. Because a lot of the things that are limiting in us are just psychological things where we're judging our ideas or we're afraid of something that's a little irrational maybe. So we're going to create an idea list next based on your challenging questions. And here's a great idea list. You can almost find this crumpled up. Maybe it was in the Oconomowoc High School, middle school cafeteria. And somebody was brainstorming ways to be cool. And they had a list. Motorcycles, wear cologne, move to Williamsburg, learn to speak European. Not sure which one. Grow facial hair. I tried that in November. It didn't work. Helmets, mohawks, designer shades, subscribe to Vice, leather jackets, Abercrombie and Fitch. Learn to play guitar, irony, become a band photographer, wear all black, Hollywood, online friendships, 360s, make your own movie, extreme everything, eat more meat, and my favorite was Steve. So wouldn't you like that person helping you brainstorm new products and services? So which of your friends is like that you can invite to the coffee shop? But for this next stage, your idea list, it's almost going to look like this. You're not going to judge very much. So let's check how this person did. Did they capture their ideas? Yeah, looks like it. Did they go for quantity? Wow, I think so. It's about 30 ideas. Did they ask questions? They have ways to be cool. Did they use tools? Don't know. They had a lot of ideas, maybe. And most importantly, did they judge their ideas? What do you guys think? Did they judge the ideas? Wouldn't you really like to see what that one was? So that is an example. So for you now, it's this time. You have a challenge. You have a couple of questions that might stimulate ideas. So this next activity is called Brain Rain. And it's almost like just modeling that good idea generating the tips that you learned. So it's essentially taking a look at your questions and your challenge and listing as many ideas as you can think of as quickly as you can, modeling that you're not going to judge your ideas. You are going for quantity, right? So this will be the next task, the next step. This is the 3rd step of our innovation system, generate ideas. So now, without judgment, list as many ideas for your questions and challenge as you can. Some of them could be old product and service ideas you've had kicking around in your head. Some could be new things that are stimulated by what we talked about today. But go, number, list, almost like a game. Try to get to the next number. Go for it. Old ideas are coming out. New ideas are coming out too. Maybe those ways of framing it or thinking about it. Is this a product or service somebody uses individually? They use as a part of a group. Is it digital? Is it a physical thing that somebody else manufactures and makes? Is it something you make? Right? Is it an online thing? Is it a mobile thing? Is it software? All right, I'm seeing great idea lists. People getting up to 15 ideas. This is a person you want to connect with to say, hey, can you brainstorm with me for 5 minutes on my challenge, right? Other people that might be stuck on ideas, you will find your strength in other parts of the system, such as analyzing ideas, knowing the relevant opportunities from the challenge, or communicating them. All right, so in Madison, people are rocking this. We've already got more ideas on one sheet of paper than many corporate brainstorms have all month. So good work. So at some point, the list of ideas runs dry, right? And remember, you may think, wow, I've never really come up with a list of 15 ideas in 5 minutes before, so that's enough. No, not enough. You got to keep going, right? And now we need to get into the toolkit and pull out tools to help us create more ideas. So the tools that I think help to create a better idea for a product or a service are these 5 tools. These are kind of connections you can make, or better yet, just Google these things, right, when you go home. Number 1 is, and I'll prompt you with these, and if there's an idea that comes to you, jot that down on your list. On the toolkit that I gave everybody, we have 10 spots, so maybe that's a space for that if you haven't used it yet. But number 1, a good product or a service solves some kind of a problem. So in your field, in your space, right, what are some problems that people are talking about, or problems that you see? So in this case, I might write down what that problem is, and then next to it, I might write down what my product idea or service idea is that could solve that problem, right? So what is a problem that you're seeing? What is a solution? People are eating too much high fructose corn syrup, right? What is the solution for that? People are not educated on their finances. What is the solution to that, right? Or it could be an opportunity. Maybe it's not a problem, but it's an opportunity. Wow, this Facebook just released this new platform. Maybe we could do something with it. Or wow, we can develop apps for this new watch that Apple created. Maybe we try that. Might not have been a problem, but it's a new opportunity, right? And a lot of people create a good product because of that. So problem to solve or opportunities to seize. Anything come to mind? Number 2, another tool I like to use are there any emerging trends or new technologies to use, right? What are some new technologies that are out there? We've got this thing called the cloud, of course, right? What are some new technologies or new trends that you might be able to leverage, right? Maybe you're a person that's helping people with healthy eating or cooking. Could you do a webinar, right? It's a lot easier to do a webinar than it was in the past. Could you record it, turn it into a digital product, right? So trends or technologies. Number 3, I really like this one. Is there a super specific target market or an audience or even a specific person or client that you could develop a product or a service or program for, right? So I might think of a specific person. Oh, Eric. Eric is in my target market. What does he need? What could I build for him? Or Brett. What could I build for Brett? He's wearing a suit. He might have some funding. You know what I mean? What could I build for Brett? So think about that. I always like to think about not just like here's the target audience, it's organizational innovation leaders, but I think of like who is that person? What is their name, right? And I'm like, okay, what does that person need? right? What could I design for them? So you might list some names down there. Maybe even you've got a client who's a great client. What do they need next from you? That's always an easy way to go. All right, number 4, another prompt for you. How about specific wants, needs, or things potential customers have actually asked for online or in conversation? Somebody might have said, hey, Ted, I want you to do this. Do you do this? You know what I mean? That is a perfect opportunity for a new product or service idea. So what is something specific somebody has been asking for? You might even be able to go back into that email and look at it, right? All right, number 5, specific assets that you have to leverage, right? Like, for example, I've got a whole stack of books over here, so it means I got a bunch of stuff on innovation and leadership development. So those are assets that I have that I can bundle together into products or services, right? Or expertise. You know, many of you have a lot of experience in something, right? You might be the best person at doing this that you know, right? You might have an educational background or a training or a lot of experience doing it. Could you teach other people that, right? That is an opportunity for a product or a service. Or maybe collaborations, like you have a great relationship with a group. You know, like I've got a great relationship with Chris here at DreamBank, so anytime I could find out what Chris wants or needs and maybe we could build something, right? So who do you have those collaborations with, right? Maybe you write the name of the organization and the idea, right? And the last tool is a very important one, available funding sources, right? This is the problem that many of us face, is we have a great idea for a product. Whoa, I know people will want this and will need it. But you have never validated that they will actually pay for it, right? That is a problem I ran into a ton years ago, is I thought, oh, everybody wants this innovation stuff. I'm going to build it. But no, people weren't ready for it yet, so it wasn't a good product or service idea at that time, right? So what is something that people have said, hey, I have a budget for this now? And for me, it's organizations say, hey, we want to do an organization initiative on innovation, or it's the year of innovation at the university. So then I come in. Now they have a budget for it. They didn't before, right? Or people ask you, they say, I have this budget. Can you help me with that, right? Or it could be not necessarily the person, but there's a grant available, right? And people are saying, hey, we'll provide this much money for somebody that can do this. So that is a funding source. But I bet that if you've had a product or service in the past that hasn't gone the way you wanted it, you may not have validated first that somebody wants it. So now everything I do, I sell it before I build it. So I'll just create the idea, and then I'll find that first customer, and then we'll talk about it. I'll figure out what it is that they need, and then I will create it for them, and now I have the product that is funded. So a good example of a lot of these tools is going into your emails, seeing what people have reached out to you about. I had somebody that emailed me the other day. I only have $1,500 remaining of my training budget for this year. Could you make recommendations on which courses to take? With your programs, can I start, stop, and restart them? Our organizational objective is we want a culture of innovation, just like everybody does. That term became popular. So based in that one statement, I can create product ideas. I know how to price it too, right? It's a course that people can start, stop, and restart that helps you create a culture of innovation, right? I'm just taking those words and putting it together, and that gives me the product or service idea. Or another one, I'm a professional facilitator, educator, and coach. However, I do not specialize in innovation and was curious how you were going to create an activity to develop innovator skills. I'd love to learn from you. I coach an innovation manager for the US, and he is doing a retreat. Well, there's a service idea. Are you a consultant or a coach? Do you have current? I can help you add innovation services to your portfolio of offerings and will help you design a retreat for your first client, right? Boom, I'm just taking that, turning that into a product or service. Also, some random things. People are looking for speakers on the following topics: time management and dealing with difficult people. Instead of you coming up with the idea for the topic you want them to do, ask them what they need and design it. Or all the time in emails, I get responses from people, Darin, I'm snowed under, swamped, buried, slammed. It's not a natural disaster, it's working life. So how do you help people become less buried and slammed in their work? Is there a product or a service idea from that, coming from the words that people are giving you? So you have an idea list right now. You might be able to add more to it, but I created, here's a sample of 20 ideas that I created right there. So next, maybe there are some final ideas that are coming to you, but I want to advance to our next step, analyzing and synthesizing ideas, right? 100 ideas, 50 ideas, even 20 ideas might be hard to manage. So we need some kind of a system to narrow it down for us, and that is a funnel. So if we look at our buddy here, his ways to be cool example, what analyzing ideas is quickly going through your list and saying, hey, which ones fit my challenge and my purpose here? What our organization is about, what I want in my life and work right now, and highlighting those. So I might highlight make your own movie and hang out with Steve. I love those ideas. So that's what I did with my list too. So when you look at your list quickly, are there some ideas that look better than others? And while you're going through that list, are there some themes that jumped out to you, right? Like, okay, I've gone through this list. I put a star by these 7 or 8 ideas. They were pretty good. I'm passionate about them. They fit what our challenge is about. And while I was going through that list, I noticed these themes. So the themes are sometimes the most valuable thing because a lot of ideas have those in common. So that's this next step. Step 4 is to go through your list, put a star by some of the ideas that you like the best, okay? And if you see a theme in there, jot down what that theme is. Maybe it's a few words that you put in the margins. What did a number of your ideas have in common, okay? Any quick questions while we do this stage? All right. Based on my themes, I could create more product ideas or concepts. I could even turn that theme into a question if I wanted to go back and get more ideas, right? With this process, you can always go back. You can always go back to your challenge, always go back to the questions, the ideas, whatever you want. It's an open kind of process. So the next, yes, develop concepts. So I know we're moving fast through these. So the goal is that you maybe spend an hour today at the coffee shop or a favorite environment and go in more depth on these. And I think you'll come up with a product or service that you might be happy about. So the next step is develop concepts. We've analyzed our list, highlighted some of the best ideas, and we also noticed some themes. So now we need to develop concepts. So if we look at our buddy and his ways to be cool example, he had make your own movie, and he also had hang out with Steve, right? So the mashup is like, let's take 2 different ideas and mash them up together, and maybe we have something better. So why don't we mash up make your own movie with hang out with Steve, and why doesn't he just create a documentary about Steve, right? Doesn't that seem like the winning idea? You know, if Steve is so cool, he'll get to hang out with him a lot, and he'll get to make a movie while he does it. So that's the same thing for us, is when you look at your idea list, is there something that you can mash up? Is there an El Camino that you can make? Is there a mermaid that you can produce? Or is there a mullet that you can also grow? Merger of business and party on the head, right? So for me, I looked at my idea list and I saw, I had a Train the Innovation Trainer program idea. I had an idea of creating an individual innovation course that includes all 7 of my online workshops that people could start and stop when they want. Remember that guy who emailed me, that's what he wanted, right? And I'm gonna combine that with a beginning and ending coaching idea I had where I'll help them get started and then finish, right? So that's a mashup of 3 different ideas that are also validated because I had somebody email me requesting part of that, right? Had some other mashups where I was going to mash up kind of the small group element, create a small group program with webinars, right? With expertise entrepreneurship. Then I had another mashup where I had all these little workshops I wanted to design, right? One on storytelling, one on elevator pitch, one on productivity hacks. How about I merge all those together and combine it with a hackathon / World Cafe event and bring that to organizations, right? So that's another concept. So it's a mashup of a few different ideas. So when you look at your idea list, are there a couple ideas that go together, right? So that's what you're doing now is you're creating a concept, a better product concept. When you look at your list, What is a product concept that is coming out of there? It could be a mashup of 2 or 3 ideas. It could be a theme that you're developing a little bit further. Or it could be just that one solo idea that you're just adding more to. You're spending a little bit more time on that, right? So this is almost like a 3x5 card size. An idea is a one-liner. This is a little bit bigger. So take a quick minute and look at your idea list and start to form one concept. Do this. All right. So one quick concept. So it's more than a one-liner. You're adding more detail to it, or it's a combo of a couple of ideas. An easy way to look at it would be like, out of all the ideas on your list, what was that one that resonated with you the most, right? It could be a good product. It might be validated in that there might be funding for this or interest for this. It's something that you can do really well. It's your strength or your expertise, right? Is there one idea in there? And then maybe is there something you can mash up with that idea, perhaps? Or a way to take it to the next level. But it's still pretty short. It's still a 3x5 card. All right, so as you're working on that, I'm going to keep moving us here. I'm going to talk about the next step, which is step 6, test and select your concept, right? So this helps us with that problem of spending all this time building something that nobody wanted or wouldn't be very successful, right? So you got to test and select your concept, right? You got to check yourself before you wreck yourself, as they said in the 90s. So number 1, this is like asking yourself questions about the concept, right? Or if you're super hardcore, you can create one of these spreadsheets where you have criteria in one column that you want to check your concepts against or give a rating to. And then maybe you have 3 different concepts like I had, and you can give them ratings 1 to 5 and see which one scores the highest, right? But at this stage, I think a quick yes or no or giving it a letter grade, almost like in school, helps. So for my concepts, I might ask myself the question with each one to compare them and see, okay, could this be successful? Number 1, can I do this well? Is this a strength of mine, right? Will I be able to create this as a quality product or service? Most important, right? Number 2, can I deliver this in under 2 days? You know, that's something that's important to my challenge right now, is I want to be able to do something quickly. I want to take stuff I've already built over the past 10 years or so, leverage it together, and be able to offer it in a way that is fast, right? But that may not be for you. Number 3, is it low investment because it leverages my assets, right? I don't want to spend a lot of money on this. Could I leverage things I already have and spent money on or time on to create this so it's more valuable for everyone? Number 4, is it profitably scalable, right? Some things I love to do, like I love to do one-on-one coaching, right? But there's only so many hours that you have in a day or week to be able to do that. So that might not be as good of a business, but it might be a really fun thing, an important thing to involve in your life for your own learning, right? But if it's scalable, then that's something that can grow to maybe 100 or thousands of customers. So that's like a book that's on Amazon, right? 1,000 people can get that in a day if they want to. Number 5, do people want it and are willing to pay for it? Remember, we're always missing that one. Have we evidence of that email of somebody saying, hey, I have $1,500 for this? You know, do you have the evidence that people want it? Not just them telling you that's great, because I'm from Minnesota and everybody likes what you have. They're very nice up there. But will they actually pay for it is a different story, right? So you need to validate that. Remember, you can try the sell it before you build it technique where you get funding and you build it for them. So you might take a look at your concepts as you create them. Maybe when you go to the coffee shop today, you have a portfolio of maybe 3 or 4 or 5 concepts that you're considering launching. And if they're all good, maybe you can launch most of them. They fit together. But I always like to focus on what is that one that I can focus on. Because I've spent so many times in my life building 4 different things and then advancing all a little bit, and never really going as far as I could if I just, boom, took one thing and moved it ahead, right? So when I look at my concepts, highest grade to the Train the Trainer, the innovation course in beginning-ending coaching product, where people get 7 online workshops they've already created, bundled together into a sequence course. I do a live hour-and-a-half-long coaching session with them first, and then after they're done, to help them build what it is they want for their client, and they have a new revenue model, or if they're in an organization, that's what they have to do in their work. So I love that one. So that's what I might focus in on for myself. So that's that next stage. So if you look at your concept, how does that, does that look like it's something that's validated? Can you answer yes to the questions that are important to you on it? If not, it's easy enough to go back and generate more ideas, or step back and create a better, more focused question, or go back and even create a new challenge that is meaningful, right? So the final step in this is we do all of this to launch it. So I look at it as you're creating a new idea, you're developing, and you're launching it so that it has an impact, right? So that's different than creativity, where we know all kinds of creative people. We see them at the coffee shop journaling and things like that, but they may never show anybody that journal. It never gets launched. So our purpose of this process is we are going to create something, build it, and launch it. And not only launch it, but it will have a positive impact, right? So that's the next stage. And remember, we can always build that into what we're doing. So I learned this technique from some of the companies we would do innovation work for. It's like all they wanted was like a concept sheet. Like take your best stuff and put it just on one single sheet or one single slide so that we can evaluate it. And a concept sheet has these elements to it. So you might take your top concept tonight at the coffee shop and turn it into a sheet. And it has a headline. It has a visual, right? Because that's how people learn or understand something, because most of our ideas stop because people just don't get it. We didn't communicate it in a way that they understood. And on your concept sheet, it's important to include things like what this product or service is. Detail how it functions. The problem it solves, or the benefits it provides. Why is this valuable to somebody? What problem is it solving for me, or benefit does it provide? Number 3, who is it for? Who is this target audience? Can you name that person, right? Can you name that group that this is for? And the 4th part, what it features that is unique or different, right? So why should I get this instead of something else that's already out there? Is there something unique or different about what you have that's valuable to me? And then we know that we always want to get into action. So I think about jotting down a couple next steps you have to communicate and advance this concept, such as gain feedback to communicate better with your target audience in their words. So you might create a concept sheet and you might bounce it off of somebody like, hey, Sam, you're my target audience. What do you think of this? Here's what I'm creating. Does this make sense to you? So you can bounce it off of somebody that's in your target audience. Another tip is this is kind of like how do you sell it before you build it, right? You just don't throw it out there on Facebook or LinkedIn or social media and hope somebody buys it from you. That never happens. You need to focus in one-on-one on people. So you might make a list of here are 5 people that I know fit with this. This could help them. They've already even talked to me about this. I'm just going to set up a quick time to chat to bounce my concept sheet off of them, show them what I'm working on. And who knows, maybe you'll get your first customer there, and that will validate you building that product or service. So I whipped up this quick concept sheet for my example. I call it Train the Innovation Course. So I have 4 bullet points that kind of give people a little bit more detail about what this new product or service or program is. And then I have an image of one of the course pages that I have, and an image of me doing kind of the coaching consulting piece, right? So that's what yours could look like. You've got all of the detail that you need on just that one slide. So that you will have to be able to take home with you to the coffee shop, you'll see the overview of the innovation system. You'll see your idea sheet where we describe the system again. And then your goal today might be to create that one concept sheet for the best product or service And I like to do it as a PowerPoint or a Keynote slide. You could also do it just on a sheet of paper or a Word document. But maybe, wouldn't it be cool to create 5 of these for 5 different products or services? And maybe then you can show your portfolio to somebody that might want to buy that from you. That could be really cool, right? So what are your next steps? That's just my guess, but maybe you have a different thought in mind. So on your sheet of paper right now, add a bonus thing. What is that next step? That first next step that you can take to continue to develop more and better products or services or programs and start to launch them, start to advance them more so that this workshop isn't just going to end today, but you're actually going to say, I created this as a result. So what is that next step? Maybe do you schedule a time and go to your favorite coffee shop? Do you come back to DreamBank and grab a nice spot and a cup of tea to work on it, to be back in the vibe? But what is your first next step, right? So I know we covered a lot of stuff. We probably did, 12 different activities today, a lot of thinking activities, reflection activities. For folks in Madison, we're going to do something wildly different next, where we'll be able to get up, move around, and collaborate more. But for our folks tuning in from home, I know you probably had some questions. So what you can do is you can email me those questions. I built a quick web page for you, innovationsteps.com/DreamBank, where I put a video walking you through the system. I put a video showing you me writing all of the different examples for another challenge. You can download this toolkit there too. And better yet, you can email me or leave a comment, and I will get to the coffee shop myself tonight and work on responding those. So that could be a next step for you to go there to connect with me. But thanks for the 45 minutes in reflection, folks. I appreciate it. All right.
Thank you, Darin.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for a great presentation, Darin. That was awesome. And thank you, all of you who are here today live, and also the audience online. We look forward to seeing it at one of the upcoming Business Accelerator programs coming up. All you have to do is check the website at the Events tab, and it'll have all the details. So have a great day.
All right, thank you, Chris.